Krishna. So here we are. Let me just lower this.
Here he goes.
Here we are, ready to read Bhagavatam. We've got some special guests here.
Yeah.
If you can recognize who they are, then you can write it in the comments.
Yes.
They're our current caretakers. And so where are we at?
Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 33, the movements of the living entities.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 33. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. Those who are too addicted to sex life cannot understand the purpose of the absolute truth, nor can they be clean in their habits, not to mention showing mercy to others. They cannot remain grave, and they have no interest in the ultimate goal of life. And the ultimate goal of life is Krishna or Vishnu, but those who are addicted to sex life cannot understand that their ultimate interest is Krishna consciousness. Such people have no sense of decency, and even in public streets or public parks, they embrace each other just like cats and dogs and pass it off in the name of love making. Such unfortunate creatures can never become materially prosperous. Behavior like that of cats and dogs keeps them in the position of cats and dogs. They cannot improve any material condition, not to speak of becoming famous.
Okay, so the sound's probably a little bit better now. Sorry, we forgot to plug in the mics. We'll continue.
They cannot improve any material condition, not to speak of becoming famous. Such foolish persons may even make a show of so-called yoga, but they are unable to control the senses and mind, which is the real purpose of yoga practice. Such people can have no opulence in their lives. In a word, they are very unfortunate. But they wouldn't think that. Those who live such a life, usually we just attribute it to like celebrities, film stars, pop stars, but it's not that. Your average Joe blogs doesn't do that either and lead such a life, because most people, unless they start inquiring about something higher, or even not just necessarily God, but just like, why am I here? What are we supposed to do? Beyond that, most people do just live for the senses and gratification and control and understanding that eating, sleeping, mating and defending are the Colosseum of life.
The what of life?
I just thought I'd put in a fancy word.
What was the word? Colosseum. A Colosseum is where you go for recreational events. Yeah. Okay.
The bedrock of life.
The bedrock. Yes, that's foundation. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, Prabhupada specifically, I was thinking, how did we get all of a sudden to sex life? We're talking about a baby being born. But actually, the previous verse is about how once the living entity comes into the world, and he forgets this powerful moment that was there before birth, where the jiva was remembering all of his past mistakes and really taking shelter of Krishna, praying, please don't let me, become subjected again to birth, death, disease, and old age. Let me just finish my stuff now. But the painful experience of birth forces the living entity to forget, and then he or she becomes attracted again by sensuality. And then Prabhupada basically says that this principle of sex life, by being addicted to sex life, that actually one becomes devoid of all of these good qualities. And somehow I was just thinking, that's like 98 or 99% of the population at least, if not 99.5%, a lot of people are just, as Prabhupada says again and again, this is the, how does he say? It's like the honey of life. It's what most people are searching after and seeking, how people are finding the highest pleasure or highest enjoyment in material life. And it's also the reason that life is perpetuating, you know? Because if people, which I think, I can't remember, did we already read Kapila Dev instructing Devahuti where he says, simply because of this itch?
Yeah.
So, simply because of this, people will, you know, take on so much trouble, you know, just to enjoy, and then they become devoid. So I was just thinking how, because 98 to 99% of people are addicted, then that means they're devoid of all these qualities. So, yeah, what a blessing it is that Krishna consciousness teaches us to actually become free from this, which is not an easy thing. But we're meant to become free. And then these qualities can manifest and develop within devotees, those who are devout. Anything else? Okay. Should we carry on?
Please.
Text 34. One should not associate with a coarse fool like me, who is bereft of the knowledge of self-realization and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. Just see, dancing dog here. The restriction of association with foolish persons is especially meant for those who are in the line of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Advancement in Krishna consciousness involves developing the qualities of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, intelligence, in spiritual knowledge, simplicity, material opulence, fame, forgiveness, and control of the mind and senses. All the points from the previous verse. All these qualities are to be manifested with the progress of Krishna consciousness. But if one associates with a Shudra, a foolish person who is like a dancing dog in the hands of a woman, then he cannot make any progress. Lord Chaitanya has advised that any person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and who desires to pass beyond material nescience must not associate himself with women or with persons interested in material enjoyment. For a person seeking advancement in Krishna consciousness, such association is more dangerous than suicide. Okay, I'm out of here. I'm packing my bags. I'm leaving tonight. This is a really good point. How are we meant to interpret this statement from the Shastra? Because in a fanatical way, I would just go away from this thinking, God, I'm basically in Maya, I'm associating with this woman, and my life is, I'm just like a Shudra, and just low class, and this is dangerous, right? Isn't it? Couldn't you go away thinking like that? So since you're the object of all this defamation, what would you like to say?
Well, I don't think I am.
Okay, good. I like that.
Because first of all, I'm spirit soul and I have no botheration if you degrade the womanhood or not. I don't mean that in a bad way to women and anti-woman, but it don't put me up or down. Just as Srila Prabhupada said to Bhaktivedanta Maharaj when he complained about racism, he said that if you're associating with that and thinking you're black,
if you're affected by it, you're no better than them.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I genuinely don't. But also my understanding is that this is referring to women as well as men who are not on the devotional path and are not Vaishnavas. And therefore to associate with a Vaishnavi is far more beneficial than your average dancing dog of a man.
Okay. So I think the point is that associating with those who are just simply materially minded, Now, what does that mean for those of us who are Vaishnavis or Vaishnavas, man or ladies, devotees who are, on the devotional path, but still somewhat attached to sense gratification or sense desires? I mean, is it meant that we're all meant to just give up everything and not, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he is that sex life which is according to religious principles. We know there's a grihasta ashram. So like that, these kind of questions can be posed, or these kinds of thoughts can be called into question when we read something like this, if we don't understand how to properly apply it. And application is very delicate, just like any medicine. Although Western medicine gives the same tablets for certain symptoms, Eastern medicine, and we could say more advanced medicine, treats each person individually according to their chemical makeup, which is different for everyone. So it means that application of a principle according to time, place, and circumstance will be different for everyone, and needs to be taken up in gradual stages, just like we often hear Srila Prabhupada say that we should be chanting pure name, chanting on the Shuddhanam platform, on the perfect platform. But how many of us are actually have achieved that platform? Not many, but many of us are attempting and aspiring for that. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned this point about being a pure devotee, that if you're on the path of pure devotion, then you're also considered a pure devotee. And he gives the example of the mango, and a green mango and a ripe mango. They're both mangoes, and as long as the green mango stays attached to the tree, then it will become a ripe mango. So as long as we're dedicated to the path, then in that way we're also on the path of pure devotion, although we may be stumbling and finding challenges and difficulties. But that's called the process. Just like initiation, there'll be some initiations happening soon in the next few days at the manor. And someone was asking me today, what should be our mood leading up to initiation? And my comment was, it's not about leading up to initiation, it's about what will be the mood from the time that I take initiation. Because initiation is just the starting line, and when you get the beads and you get the name, you might think you've crossed the finish line, but you've only just heard the firing gun to start. And that's just the beginning. And it means you're initiating a process of purification by formally connecting to the spiritual master. That's kind of a different topic, but it's related, because we cannot forget we are part of a process. It's not just that once you read this, all of a sudden you're meant to be able to just put it into practice. Nothing works like that. We put it into practice by trying, by making a sincere and serious attempt. And of course, we should be making steady and regular progress and advancement. But many of us, most of us, or somewhat all of us will struggle with the senses wanting to enjoy in different ways. But we just have to make sure that as much as possible we're adding into the mix Krishna and trying to focus and dedicate our lives in such a way that it's really for the service of Krishna, and we're trying not to forget him. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. Sorry, that's my Bhagavatam class for this morning.
Okay.
Any comments,
No.
reflections, additions, subtractions?
No.
Okay.
Text 35. The infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from attachment to a woman or to the fellowship of men who are fond of women. Purport. Attachment to women is so contaminating that one becomes attached to the condition of material life, not only by the association of women, but by the contaminated association of persons who are too attached to them. There are many reasons for our conditional life in the material world, but the topmost of all such causes is the association of women, as will be confirmed in the following stanzas. So yeah, it just confirms what you already said.
That must have been hard for you to say. I think this is really powerful. In fact, I think it's important that we discuss this more, because this can really be taken. Actually, I have a cousin, I don't know if she'll be watching, but I remember years ago when I mentioned to her that I had, become a devotee or Hare Krishna, and she mentioned that some years ago she had gotten books, the Bhagavad Gita, and she's an intelligent person, and she said she started to read it, but then she had to put it down because she read somewhere that women are less intelligent, and she felt it was derogatory. And she's, I wouldn't say full-blown women's liber, but she's kind of like that, as are many people from the Western world. They feel that there has been centuries of I guess, what would be the word? Abuse. Oppression, that's great, yeah. Oppression against certain classes of persons, and it's still going on. And so when they read things like that, they can't quite grasp it. But we have to be able to understand it in a way that we can apply it. Otherwise, if there's any ladies who are watching this right now, which there certainly are, you might immediately start to think, oh, I'm bad, or something like that, and it's in Shastra, and we could become, we could get some complex about it. First of all, we have to understand that we're simply spirit souls, as you were rightly saying, and we have certain bodies, and there's a principle, I think, also that's important to understand here, and I got that there's two. One is that an attachment to the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever it is these days, but an attachment to another person's body. And that's the point, that I've become infatuated or attracted to another person's body simply for the purpose of lust and enjoying that body without any conscious consideration of the fact that there's a spirit soul there. Simply I want to enjoy that body. Then the other point that Srila Prabhupada is making is that association with those people who are attached like that. So even if you're not attached, but if you associate with people who are attached, and I don't know how many of you are watching are, but when I was working outside, if you hang out with men, most of the time they're talking about women. I don't know women, they're usually talking about men.
Not really.
Oh.
I wasn't.
That's because you're not an ordinary lady. But men usually are talking about women. They're just, in general, please forgive me, gentlemen, but generally men are pretty dog-like anyhow. In fact, they're proud of that. Some of them even call themselves by dog names. But the point is that by association with those kind of persons, naturally that kind of consciousness or mentality will start to develop within ourselves. So, sorry, I seem to be on a salute. Either I'm asleep or I'm vibrantly awake. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I got really,
stiff neck.
Pain. My neck is really hurting.
Yeah.
Hence I'm moving like this.
Okay. I'm going to finish this. Did I read that or you?
No, it seems like you did, I know, because of the soliloquy, but you are finishing the final paragraph.
Okay,
dear.
Everyone, you ready? Here we go.
And you got 10 seconds.
10 seconds. In Kali Yuga, association with women is very strong. In every step of life, there is association with women. If a person goes to purchase something, the advertisements are full of pictures of women. The physiological attraction for women is very great, and therefore people are very slack in spiritual understanding. The Vedic civilization, being based on spiritual understanding, arranges association with women very cautiously. Out of the 4 social divisions, the members of the first order, namely Brahmacharya, the third order, Vanaprastha, and the fourth order, Sannyas, are strictly prohibited from female association. Okay? I'll come back to that in a minute. Only in one order, the householder, is there license to mix with women under restricted conditions. In other words, attraction for woman's association is the cause of the material conditional life. And anyone interested in being freed from this conditional life must detach himself from the association of women. So this is such a powerful paragraph for that point. And again, Srila Prabhupada's point is, obviously relevant. It's true that attachment to the opposite sex for the purpose of enjoyment is the bonding force of the material energy. It's the material world. Of course, the saying honing in and focusing on women is I definitely find it an awkward thing, simply because the woman is simply the woman. The man is the person who should be sense-controlled enough not to be attached or attracted. But it's simultaneously also a compliment to women, because they're so powerful that they can attract and allure men very easily, as we know. That's why they're used in advertisements. They're the better half, of a man. They're the more attractive. At the same time, it's also saying that men are pretty weak because they're not strong enough to not be allured and tempted in these ways. So they're very susceptible. So like that. But also this principle of Vanaprast, I think we should, Prabhupada says it here, like they're strictly prohibited from female association. But my understanding is Vanaprast isn't exactly like that. Vanaprast is retired life. And in other places, Srila Prabhupada does make the clear point that one travels to the holy places with the partner. And even the first stages of sannyas, Prabhupada explains in some, I think there are 4 levels of sannyas. And the first one, the husband lives just outside of the house, outside of the village, and the wife still prepares food and takes it to him. So it's, if we don't understand that it's a gradual process, then we will become overwhelmed by these statements and start to think that we're failures or we're bad or like this, something like that. Okay, stiff upper lip and all that.
Yeah.
Stiff upper neck. Okay, so we'll conclude there.
Yes, hope everyone has a wonderful new year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, and may 2020, sorry, go ahead.
Look forward to having your association discussing the Bhagavatam for the rest of the year.
2023 Ki Jai. I think we were hopeful we might finish the 3rd canto before the end of 2023, but
no,
it's not about finishing, it's about daily practicing, so like that. Okay, Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna.